There are stories about success, and then there are stories about survival. Magic Johnson's life is not just about basketball trophies or billion-dollar deals. It is the story of a boy who was humiliated, a young man who was doubted, a champion who was forced to face a terrifying diagnosis, and a father who learned to rebuild everything he once lost. This is the journey of someone who refused to break, even when the world thought he was finished. And if you stay with me, you will see how one life can rise again and again, not because it was easy, but because he chose to keep standing every time the world tried to knock him down. Before legends rise, boys bleed. Magic Johnson's childhood was filled with moments that shaped him long before the world knew his name. He was born on the 14th of August, 1959, in Lansing, Michigan, in a small house crowded with brothers and sisters. There were 10 children in the family, and life was not easy. The home was cramped, money was always short, and everyone had to share almost everything. Privacy did not exist, and comfort was a luxury they simply could not afford. His parents worked hard just to keep food on the table. His father, Irvin Sr., worked long hours at the General Motors plant. After finishing his shift, he woke up before sunrise to drive a garbage truck to earn extra income. His mother, Christine, cleaned school buildings and returned home exhausted most days. Magic often said he could hear how tired she was even before seeing her face. The atmosphere in the house was full of love, but it was also full of struggle, and the children learned early that nothing came without effort. Magic was still very young when his father began taking him on garbage routes during weekends. For most children, this would simply be extra time with their dad. But for Magic, it was a lesson about hard work and humility. He would pick up heavy trash cans with freezing metal handles in the Michigan cold. His small hands ached, but he kept going because he wanted to help. However, the hardest part was not the physical work. It was the way neighbors looked at him. Some children would call him Trash Boy. They laughed, pointed, and whispered as he passed by on the garbage truck. These words injured him deeply. At that age, he could not fully understand why doing honest work brought him insults. He only felt shame and confusion. This name followed him for years and stayed in his mind longer than he expected. He remembered trying to brush the smell of garbage off his coat before going to school, but no matter how much he tried, he still felt embarrassed. That shame slowly became a part of him, affecting how he saw himself. School did not make things easier. In the 1,960 seconds, Lansing schools faced racial tension as communities struggled with integration and changing laws. Magic expected to attend a school where most students looked like him and where he thought he would finally feel comfortable. Instead, he was assigned to Everett High School, a mostly white school where many students and even some teachers did not welcome him. The bus carrying black students was sometimes hit with rocks, and many white classmates stared at them with cold expressions. Inside the building, Magic felt out of place. Some teammates refused to pass him the ball during basketball practice. Conversations in the locker room would stop the moment he walked in. He felt invisible in some moments and unwanted in others. A young teenager facing silent rejection like this learns quickly that the world can be unkind. But even through these painful experiences, something inside him refused to break. Around this time, he discovered a growing love for basketball. The outdoor courts behind his neighborhood became his safe space. He would wake up early, sometimes before 5 a.m., when the sky was still dark and the air freezing. He dribbled a worn-out basketball, practicing moves and imagining himself playing freely. On the court, nobody called him Trash Boy. Nobody ignored him. Nobody judged him for the color of his skin. The ball, the rim, and the empty court accepted him exactly as he was. He poured all his frustration and sadness into his practice. Every insult he heard, every cold stare he received, all of it pushed him to work harder. His skills grew because he practiced with a seriousness that came from pain, not from ambition. His famous no-look passes came from hours of studying angles and trusting his instincts. Basketball became the first place in his life where he felt in control, and this feeling became a powerful source of strength. Even though life was difficult, these moments helped build his resilience. He learned to stay focused despite being teased. He learned discipline by waking up early daily just to practice. He learned patience by dealing with classmates who treated him unfairly. Most importantly, he learned how to turn loneliness into motivation. Every morning he stepped onto the cold cement court. He whispered to himself that one day he would rise above these painful experiences. He didn't know how or when, but he believed he could create a better life. Magic's early years were filled with hardship, but these difficulties shaped him in ways he didn't understand at the time. The poverty taught him the value of hard work. The humiliation taught him empathy and humility. The racial tension taught him how to endure things he couldn't control. The lonely mornings on the court taught him discipline, and the quiet hurt he carried inside him gave him a hunger to prove that he was worth more than the insults thrown at him. These experiences did not break him. They prepared him. They gave him the strength he would one day need to face much larger battles. They helped him develop a toughness that did not come from anger, but from survival. They taught him that life was not fair, but it was still his responsibility to keep moving forward. Most people only know Magic Johnson as the smiling, confident basketball star. But before that smile existed, there was a boy who cried silently, felt invisible, and struggled to understand why the world seemed so harsh toward him. All of this made him stronger, but the pain he carried from childhood was only the beginning. What came next in his teenage years would cut even deeper and change his life forever, because the first real wound he felt had nothing to do with poverty or money. It came from a place much colder and far more personal. Sometimes the world doesn't push you out, it shuts you out. When Magic Johnson was reassigned to Everett High School, he expected to continue his education like any other teenager. Instead, he walked into an environment where he quickly understood he was not welcome. The school was mostly white, and many families in the community were unhappy about integration. From the first day, the message was clear. He was entering a place where he would have to prove his right to exist, not just his right to learn. The journey to school was not simple. The bus carrying black students often became a target. Some kids from the neighborhood threw rocks whenever the bus passed. The sound of stones hitting the windows created fear before classes even began. Magic remembered sitting on that bus trying not to show his worry, but inside he felt nervous every time. It was hard to understand why simply going to school made him a target. This early experience planted a deep sense of caution in him, a quiet understanding that the world sometimes judges people before they even speak. Inside the school building, he faced a different kind of rejection. It was quiet, but heavy. In the hallways, students stared but rarely spoke. In classrooms, some kids moved their desks away or avoided sitting near him. In the lunchroom, he felt the silence more sharply, because the tables where he tried to sit would often grow tense. No one needed to say anything. The distance was enough. It wasn't loud bullying, it was the invisible kind. The kind that settles into your heart slowly and makes you question your worth. Basketball practice, a place he once considered home, became another battlefield. Teammates refused to pass him the ball, even when he was wide open. They pretended not to see him or acted like his presence disrupted the flow of the game. Conversations in the locker room stopped when he walked in. Some players would even turn their backs to him. This rejection hurt deeply because basketball was the one place he felt confident. Yet even here, people made him feel small. He often wondered what he had done wrong. Why was he treated differently? Why was his skin color enough to create a wall between him and others? Magic tried to ignore the sting, but it followed him everywhere. The isolation was not only physical, it was emotional. He felt alone even when surrounded by people. He carried the pressure quietly, not wanting his parents to worry. His mother and father were working tirelessly, and he didn't want to add his pain to their load, so he kept his feelings inside and learned to handle the emotional weight by himself. This silence built a kind of inner toughness, but it also left scars. Still, something inside him refused to let these experiences break him. Instead of giving up, he began waking up earlier. Every morning, often before 5 a.m., he walked to the outdoor courts near his home. It didn't matter how cold Michigan winters were. He dribbled the ball with numb fingers, practiced layups, practiced passing, and worked on the skills he felt no one recognized. The early morning court became his safe space, a place where he could express himself without fear of judgment. The quiet became a friend instead of an enemy. During these sessions, he started experimenting with creative passes. He practiced looking one way while throwing the ball another. These no-look passes came not from trying to be flashy, but from trying to survive the loneliness. They were a way to make basketball fun again, a way to distract himself from the thought that others didn't trust him enough to pass to him. The more he practiced, the better he became. He began understanding angles, timing, and rhythm. Without knowing it, the very rejection he faced was shaping the foundation of the playing style that would make him famous one day. Every insult, every cold stare, every moment of being ignored built a fire inside him. He decided that if people wouldn't accept him, he would work so hard that they would have no choice but to notice his talent. This mindset did not come overnight. It grew slowly, fed by pain and frustration. But with each morning practice, he felt himself becoming stronger, not just physically, but mentally. He stopped caring about whether teammates passed him the ball. He focused instead on improving himself, knowing that skill was something no one could take away. This emotional shift changed everything. Magic began to understand that he could use his experiences as fuel. Instead of letting rejection crush him, he let it motivate him. Instead of letting silence hurt him, he let it teach him patience. Instead of letting racism define him, he used it to build resilience. He learned that pain could be a teacher, not just an enemy. And slowly, the boy who once walked through the hallways, trying to disappear, started walking with more confidence, even if no one noticed yet. He also started paying attention to how other students were treated. He saw other kids feeling alone, kids who faced their own struggles. His empathy deepened because he understood what isolation felt like. These feelings helped shape his personality later in life, making him kind, open, and welcoming. He never forgot how it felt to be left out, and that memory would influence how he treated teammates, friends, and eventually the communities he would support as an adult. Through all of this, basketball continued to be the center of his world. It was the only place he felt in control. The more he played, the clearer his purpose became. He wasn't just practicing to escape pain, he was practicing to become someone stronger, someone better, someone who could rise above every insult. These early years built the foundation for his determination, a determination that later carried him through some of the hardest challenges of his life. Even as he grew stronger on the inside, he couldn't avoid the truth. The world around him was still harsh. But instead of breaking down, he adapted. He kept practicing, kept pushing, and kept believing that one day things would change. These difficult school years taught him that life is not always fair, but strength comes from refusing to give up. And just when he began to believe he could endure anything, the universe took the one friend he could not live without. A single moment can name you or break you. For Magic Johnson, that moment began with a friendship that carried him through some of the hardest years of his young life. Before the world called him Magic, he was just Irvin, a tall, shy teenager trying to survive the loneliness and racism at Everett High. And during this painful time, he found comfort in one person, Reggie Chastain. Reggie was more than a teammate. He was the one person who truly saw Irvin as someone worth believing in. When others ignored him on the court, Reggie passed him the ball. When others stayed silent in the locker room, Reggie talked to him. When Irvin doubted himself, Reggie encouraged him. Their friendship was simple but deeply meaningful. Reggie made him feel accepted in a world that constantly made him feel invisible. Reggie supported Irvin like no one else did. After practices where Irvin barely touched the ball, Reggie would stay behind with him, shooting hoops and laughing until the gym lights dimmed. He often told him, "You're special, man. I see it. One day they'll see it too." These words stayed close to Irvin's heart, especially on difficult days. For a young boy dealing with rejection and racism, Reggie's support was a lifeline. He felt safe with him, understood by him. Their bond was built on trust, loyalty, and long hours on the court, two boys trying to find their place in the world. But life can be cruel, and sometimes the people we need the most are taken from us without warning. In 1976, when Irvin was just 17, Reggie Chastain was killed in a car accident. The news hit him like a punch he could not recover from. He described it later as feeling like the air had been pulled out of his lungs. He went completely still when he heard the words, unable to process that his best friend, the one person who believed in him fully, was gone forever. Reggie's death didn't feel real at first. It felt like the world had tilted sideways. Irvin would walk into the gym expecting to see him, only to face the painful emptiness that reminded him Reggie would never walk through the doors again. The grief stayed with him every day. He would stand in front of Reggie's locker, touching the cold metal door, whispering to himself, or simply closing his eyes. He visited the court where they practiced together, hearing Reggie's laugh in his memory, remembering their private jokes, and feeling the weight of the silence where joy once lived. Losing Reggie at such a young age changed something inside him. It didn't just break his heart, it forced him to grow. It made him understand how fragile life could be. It showed him that the people we love can be taken without warning. But instead of letting the pain destroy him, Irvin used it to push himself forward. He wanted to make Reggie proud. He wanted to prove that his friend's belief in him was not wasted. The grief became fuel. It made him stronger, more focused, and more determined. He promised himself that he would play harder, work harder, and live in a way that honored the friend who saw greatness in him long before anyone else did. And then, something remarkable happened. As he grew taller and more confident, his skills began to shine. His ball handling improved, his passing became sharper, and his leadership started to appear naturally. He wasn't just playing basketball anymore, he was playing with purpose. At Everett High, his game transformed completely. His teammates who once ignored him began to trust him. Coaches who had overlooked him started to notice his talent. Slowly, he rose from the silent kid in the corner to the heart of the team. By his senior year, Irvin was leading Everett High towards something extraordinary. They reached the Michigan State Championship, a game that felt like the final chapter of everything he had endured. When they won, Irvin didn't celebrate wildly. Instead, he looked up and pointed toward the rafters, silently offering the victory to Reggie. The championship was not just a trophy. It was a promise kept, a tribute, a moment where pain and pride mixed into something unforgettable. As he continued to rise, people outside the school began to notice him too. Local reporters came to watch his games. They saw the way he controlled the court, how he passed without hesitation, how he seemed to see plays before they happened. His stats were incredible: points, rebounds, assists, but it was his style that made people stare. There was something special about the way he moved, something joyful, something different. One night after an especially impressive game, where he filled the stat sheet with numbers that didn't seem possible for a high school student, a reporter looked at his performance and said a phrase that would change his life forever. "This kid plays like magic." And just like that, the name stuck. Soon people began calling him Magic Johnson. And it felt exciting but frightening at the same time. Irvin liked the name, but he also worried. He wondered if he could live up to it. What if he failed? What if the expectations were too big? What if people laughed at him the way they once did? This fear was real, but so was his growing confidence. He worked hard to make sure the name wasn't just a nickname, it became a part of him. Magic Johnson was a boy who endured racism, loneliness, and grief. Magic Johnson was a teenager who lost his closest friend, but still chose to rise. Magic Johnson was a player who turned pain into purpose and purpose into talent. The early fame felt strange at times. He was proud but cautious, happy but humble, excited but aware that the world that praised him today could judge him tomorrow. Early fame is complicated, especially for someone who never asked for attention in the first place. Yet this combination of talent, tragedy, and determination pushed him forward more than ever. He started to understand that maybe his life had a bigger plan. Maybe he was meant to carry not just his own dreams, but the dreams of people who believed in him, including Reggie. But destiny wasn't done testing him, and the next battlefield was larger than anything he had ever imagined. Greatness doesn't wait for permission, it erupts. When Magic Johnson arrived at Michigan State University in 1977, he carried more than a duffel bag. He carried the weight of childhood struggles, the memory of Reggie's encouragement, and a growing belief that basketball could change his life. At Michigan State, he finally entered an environment where coaches valued him, teammates trusted him, and the school community embraced his talent. For the first time, he felt like he truly belonged. The freedom to play without fear allowed his confidence to grow rapidly. His passing, leadership, and ability to control the game made him stand out from the first practice. He became the heart of the team, not because he demanded attention, but because he lifted everyone around him. During his second year at Michigan State, everything came together for one unforgettable moment. The 1979 NCAA championship game placed him face-to-face with Larry Bird and Indiana State. It was more than just a college game. It was one of the most watched basketball games in American history at the time. Millions tuned in. Reporters built it up as a clash between two future stars. Magic was relaxed on the surface, smiling in warm-ups, encouraging teammates. But inside, he felt the pressure. Larry Bird was the best college player in the country, and beating him would require everything Magic had. In the final, Magic played with confidence and control far beyond his age. His energy lifted his team, his passes confused defenders, and his joy spread through the arena. Michigan State won the championship, and Magic was named the tournament's most outstanding player. This game didn't just give him a trophy, it put his name on the national stage. The whole country started talking about him. Reporters praised him for his leadership. Fans admired his smile and excitement. Coaches around the nation said he was one of the most complete players they had ever seen. The NCAA win changed Magic from a local star to a national icon. Soon after, Magic declared for the NBA draft. He was only 20 years old, still very young, but the world already expected greatness from him. When the Los Angeles Lakers selected him with the first overall pick in 1979, it felt like a dream. But behind the excitement was a new type of pressure. Los Angeles was not a small town. It was a huge city full of stars, media, bright lights, and expectations. The Lakers were already a strong team with established players, and Magic understood quickly that his life was about to change. He had gone from being a college kid walking across campus to a professional athlete expected to deliver wins immediately. The media attention in LA was intense. Reporters constantly followed him. Critics questioned whether he could handle the pressure. Some wrote that he was too happy, too young, too flashy. They doubted his ability to lead grown men. Even some veterans on the team wondered silently if he was ready. But Magic kept doing what he always did. He worked hard, stayed positive, and trusted that his effort would speak louder than criticism. His rookie season had many highs, but the defining moment came during the 1980 NBA Finals. The Lakers were playing the Philadelphia 76ers, and their star center, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, injured his ankle in Game 5. Kareem was the team's anchor, and without him, LA's chances looked weak. The team was shaken. But Magic stepped forward and shocked everyone. He told his teammates he would play center, not just for a few minutes, for the entire Game 6. This was almost unheard of. A 20-year-old rookie playing center in the NBA Finals against bigger, older players? But Magic did it, and he did it with confidence. He scored 42 points, grabbed 15 rebounds, and gave 7 assists. He played every position on the floor. His performance helped the Lakers win the championship, and he earned the Finals MVP award. No rookie had ever done anything like this before. People couldn't believe what they were seeing. Overnight, Magic Johnson became more than a good young player. He became a superstar. This victory sparked what later became known as the Showtime era. With Magic's passing, speed, and joy, the Lakers transformed into the most exciting team in the NBA. Their games felt like entertainment events. Fans packed the arena. Celebrities filled the courtside seats. Magic's smile became part of the Lakers' identity. Showmanship, fast breaks, and unselfish play defined the team. This style helped the Lakers win multiple championships, and it made Magic one of the most recognizable athletes in the world. But success came with a private cost. The schedule was exhausting. The NBA season had long flights, back-to-back games, and constant pressure. Magic's body took a beating. His knees swelled. His back tightened. He often finished games completely drained. In the locker room, he would sometimes lie flat on the floor because his back hurt too much to sit. Some nights he couldn't fall asleep because of pain. Other nights, he couldn't sleep because of the mental stress of always being expected to win. Even with all the fame, he sometimes felt alone. He missed the simplicity of childhood courts. He missed the quiet evenings with Reggie. He missed playing basketball without pressure. Fame created distance between him and ordinary life. Everywhere he went, cameras followed. Every mistake became a headline. Every loss turned into criticism. On the outside, he smiled and gave positive interviews. On the inside, he struggled with moments of doubt and fatigue that no one saw. Still, he kept pushing. Magic loved basketball too much to slow down. He enjoyed bringing joy to fans, enjoyed seeing teammates succeed, and enjoyed the feeling of helping the Lakers grow into a dynasty. His leadership earned trust. His enthusiasm lifted spirits. His work ethic showed younger players how to stay disciplined. The Showtime Lakers became part of sports history, and Magic became the face of it all. But while America worshipped him, something silent, merciless, and invisible was already moving toward him. Some storms don't warn you, they arrive as a sentence. On the 7th of November 1991, Magic Johnson stepped in front of cameras, expecting one of the hardest moments of his life. But even he didn't fully understand how deeply it would shake the world. He stood at the podium in a calm, controlled way, but inside, he felt fear, confusion, and uncertainty. Reporters filled the room, expecting a routine update. Instead, Magic lowered his eyes briefly and said the words that stopped America. "Because of the HIV virus that I have attained, I will retire." Those words hung in the air like a shockwave. People froze. Some reporters dropped their pens. Television stations interrupted regular programs. Radio shows went silent before rushing to report the news. The announcement immediately became one of the most unforgettable moments in sports history. In 1991, HIV was not well understood. Most people associated it with death. Medicine was still developing, information was limited, and fear was huge. Many believed it was impossible to live long with HIV. Many didn't know how it spread, which made the fear even stronger. Because of this, Magic's name instantly went from being connected with basketball glory to being connected with a disease most people feared. He became more than an NBA star. He became a national symbol for something that people barely understood. The reaction was fast and intense. Fans cried. Athletes were stunned. Talk shows exploded with discussions. Some people spread wrong information. Others believed he only had months to live. His teammates, many of whom looked up to him, felt scared because they didn't know the truth about how HIV worked. Some wondered if they had been at risk during games. Some didn't want to share the court with him again. Inside the Lakers organization, the shock caused confusion and fear. Coaches didn't know how to help. Staff members didn't know what to say. A team that was once united suddenly felt shaken and uncomfortable. Magic felt the change immediately. Before the announcement, people rushed to him for autographs and hugs. Afterward, some people kept their distance. Some didn't shake his hand. Some reporters asked insensitive questions about how he got the virus. Rumors spread that he had been careless or irresponsible. Every part of his life became public discussion. For someone who had always brought joy to fans, being treated like a threat was painful. He said later that he understood the fear, but the isolation cut deeply. He felt like the world he once belonged to had pushed him out overnight. At home, the emotional weight was even greater. He had to face the fear of what would happen to his wife, Cookie, who was pregnant at the time. She was tested immediately. The waiting period felt like torture. When she received a negative result, and the baby was negative too, Magic cried with relief. But the fear of the disease still didn't leave. He did not know how his body would respond to treatment. Every morning felt uncertain. In the months that followed, Magic tried to stay strong publicly, but emotionally he was struggling. He went through periods of sadness, confusion, and fear. He felt like his life had been divided into two parts, before HIV and after HIV. Basketball had always been his purpose, his escape, his joy. Without it, he felt lost. He didn't know who he was without the game. He had trained his whole life to become one of the greatest players ever, and suddenly, it felt like everything was taken away. In early 1992, he tried to return to basketball briefly when he was invited to the NBA All-Star Game. Many fans supported him, but some players privately said they didn't feel safe playing with him. Even though experts explained there was no risk through normal play, fear was stronger than facts. Despite the tension, Magic played brilliantly. He scored 25 points and won the All-Star MVP. The arena cheered loudly, and for a moment it felt like the old days. But once the game ended, the controversy continued. The NBA world wasn't ready to fully accept him back. He also competed in the 1992 Olympics on the famous Dream Team, which brought him some joy. But even then, some players were cautious and worried about contact. Magic smiled through it, but those moments reminded him of how much had changed. Over time, he made a few attempts to return to the NBA, including in 1996, but the pressure, fear, and criticism always followed him. His body felt different, his mind was tired, and the joy he once felt on the court no longer came easily. In 1993-94, he tried a new path, coaching the Los Angeles Lakers. He thought this would allow him to stay connected to the game he loved. But the experience was difficult. Coaching was stressful, and the team didn't respond well. Some players didn't adjust to his style. Losses built up quickly. After only 16 games, he stepped down. He felt embarrassed and disappointed. Even though he had good intentions, the attempt failed. It felt like another door closing in front of him. These years were filled with emotional darkness. He had lost his identity as a player. He struggled with the stigma of HIV. He battled fear about his health. He felt misunderstood by many people. His public image changed overnight, and even though some supported him, he also faced a level of judgment he had never experienced. He had gone from being one of the most loved athletes in America to someone many people feared without reason. All of this created a spiritual breaking point. Magic had always been confident and joyful, but now he found himself questioning his purpose. He wondered if his life still had meaning beyond basketball. He wondered if he would survive long enough to see his children grow up. These questions followed him every day. But something inside him refused to give up. He slowly began to understand that maybe his journey was not ending, maybe it was changing. He realized that he could still make an impact, even if it wasn't on the basketball court. He decided to learn more about HIV, speak openly about it, and fight the stigma surrounding it. He didn't know it yet, but this period of pain would lead him to an entirely new chapter in his life. But the world didn't know the ashes were only the beginning. Some men rebuild, others reinvent. After Magic Johnson stepped away from basketball, he knew he had to find a new purpose. The sport that had defined him for years was suddenly gone, and he needed a direction that gave him meaning again. Instead of choosing an easy path or relying only on fame, he focused on something deeper, helping communities like the one he grew up in. He understood the struggles of poor neighborhoods, the lack of investment, and how businesses often ignored these areas. Magic decided his next chapter would not be about basketball, it would be about rebuilding places that people had forgotten. His early business ideas were centered on creating opportunities in underserved communities. He wanted to build things families could enjoy, places where people felt safe and valued. But when he brought his plans to banks, he was met with rejection again and again. Bankers assumed people in low-income neighborhoods wouldn't support nice businesses. Some told him directly that investing in those areas was a bad idea. Others looked at him only as an athlete, not a serious businessman. One banker even told him to stick to basketball. These comments hurt, but they also reminded Magic of all the times people had doubted him in the past. Instead of quitting, he became even more determined. Magic kept searching for people who would believe in his vision. Eventually, he met Howard Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks. Schultz wanted to expand Starbucks into new markets, but wasn't sure if the company could succeed in communities that large corporations usually ignored. Magic didn't hesitate. He told Schultz that people in these neighborhoods also wanted good service, safe spaces, and quality products. They just needed someone to treat them with respect. Magic offered to become a partner, using his understanding of the community to guide the business. This partnership changed everything. Magic invested his own money to open Starbucks locations in neighborhoods that other companies avoided. The results were immediate and surprising to many. These Starbucks stores became huge successes. Lines stretched out the door, families gathered inside, and customers proved the bankers wrong. Magic showed that communities often described as not worth investing in were actually full of potential. His Starbucks deal grew fast, and when he eventually sold his share in 2010, he made around $75 million. But more important than the profit was the message. Underserved communities deserved the same quality as everyone else. With confidence growing, Magic expanded his efforts. One of his first major projects was the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Plaza movie theater in Los Angeles. It had been struggling for years. The building was old, run down, and unsafe. Magic saw not a failing theater, but a chance to give families a place to gather and feel proud of their neighborhood again. He renovated it, added better seating, improved security, and created a space where people felt comfortable bringing their children. The theater became a huge success and helped bring life back to the surrounding area. It also became a model for how entertainment could uplift communities when done with respect and care. Magic then moved into real estate, buying shopping centers, apartment complexes, and office buildings. He wanted to create long-term change, not short-term results. He believed real estate gave stability to neighborhoods and created jobs. Over time, he built a large portfolio of commercial properties, developing spaces that supported local businesses and community growth. He also invested in equities, joining partnerships that allowed him to expand his influence in multiple industries. One of the biggest moments in Magic's business career came in 2012 when he joined a group of investors to buy the Los Angeles Dodgers. The deal was worth nearly $2 billion, one of the largest in sports history. The idea of Magic walking onto the baseball field, not as a player but as an owner, sent emotional waves through the city. Fans saw him not just as a basketball legend, but as someone committed to building the future of Los Angeles. The Dodgers grew stronger under the new ownership group, both financially and competitively, showing that Magic had entered a new league of influence. His ownership journey didn't stop there. He also became a part owner of the Los Angeles Sparks in the WNBA, and later joined LAFC in Major League Soccer. Each investment reflected his love for sports and his desire to support athletic opportunities across different communities. Magic understood that sports had the power to bring people together, just as they had once given him a purpose during his difficult teenage years. In 2023, Magic took another historic step by joining the ownership group that purchased the Washington Commanders in the NFL. The deal was valued at $6.05 billion, the largest purchase ever for a sports team. For Magic, it was more than a business milestone. It was proof of how far he had come from a child riding on a garbage truck to a man sitting at the highest tables in American business and sports. His influence had grown far beyond basketball courts. He had become one of the most respected businessmen in the country. By 2025, Magic Johnson's net worth surpassed $1.5 billion. But his wealth was not just a symbol of success. It represented years of discipline, vision, rejection, and persistence. He turned his pain into purpose, his challenges into opportunities, and his setbacks into strength. He didn't just rebuild his life after HIV, he reinvented it. He created jobs, reopened neglected buildings, invested in overlooked communities, and proved that hope could become real when matched with hard work. Through all his achievements, Magic remained grounded. He knew what it felt like to be doubted. He remembered the voices that told him he wasn't enough. He understood the value of giving back because he had lived through times when help would have changed everything. His journey from brokenness to business success was not smooth or easy, but it showed what determination can accomplish. Magic Johnson's business empire stood as proof that a person can rise after ruin. He refused to let illness or fear define him. Instead, he created a future bigger than anyone imagined. He became a builder, a leader, and a symbol of possibility for those who felt forgotten. But money cannot shield a man from the storms waiting at home. The hardest battles don't happen in stadiums, they happen in living rooms. Before Magic Johnson became a global icon, he was a young man trying to navigate relationships, responsibility, and the fast changes happening in his life. One of the first important relationships in his youth was with Melissa Mitchell. They were young, hopeful, and connected in a simple, honest way. Melissa saw the real Irvin, not the rising star. But as Magic's career began to speed up, their lives started moving in different directions. He was traveling constantly, practicing, dealing with pressure, and learning how to survive in the spotlight. She stayed in the world they came from, living a more normal life. Their paths slowly drifted apart, not because they stopped caring, but because the demands on Magic grew too heavy. When Melissa gave birth to their son, Andre, in 1981, Magic was still very young. He loved his son, but he was overwhelmed by fame, responsibility, and the busy schedule of a professional athlete. He didn't know how to balance his new life with fatherhood. Looking back, he has said many times that he regrets not being there for Andre in the way he should have been. He missed early moments, first steps, first words, school years. Andre grew up mostly with his mother, learning to be strong without his father's daily presence. This regret stayed in Magic's heart for years, becoming a quiet reminder of the cost of fame. As time passed, Magic's life changed again when he reconnected with Cookie, the woman who would become his wife. They had known each other since college and had gone through years of on and off dating. Cookie understood him in a way few others did. She accepted his lifestyle, supported his dreams, and provided stability when everything around him felt chaotic. They got married in September 1991, believing they were starting a peaceful new chapter. But just 7 weeks later, Magic told her he had tested positive for HIV. The moment was heartbreaking. Cookie was pregnant with their first child together, EJ, and the fear of what this diagnosis meant for their family was overwhelming. During those early days, Cookie showed a level of strength that became the foundation of their marriage. She stayed by his side when many people judged him or ran away. She faced the public with him, protected their home, and supported him emotionally even when she was scared. When her test results came back negative and the baby's results were negative too, they cried in relief. But the stress didn't disappear. Their marriage was immediately tested in a way most couples never experience. Every day was filled with questions about Magic's health, the future of their child, and how to navigate a world that suddenly treated him differently. Raising EJ brought new challenges and new lessons. In 2013, when EJ told his father that he was gay, Magic's first reaction came from fear, not rejection. He worried about the world's cruelty. He remembered how deeply rejection had hurt him as a child. He did not want EJ to face the same kind of pain. But Cookie guided him gently, reminding him that their job was to love their child, not fear who he was. This conversation changed Magic deeply. He had to unlearn old ideas, open his heart wider, and understand EJ for who he truly was. Over time, their relationship grew stronger. Magic says EJ helped him become a better father and a more understanding person. Their bond today is built on acceptance, communication, and mutual respect. Magic's family faced another terrifying moment in 2018 when his daughter Elisa experienced a home invasion while staying at a friend's place in Los Angeles. Armed intruders broke into the home, and Elisa ran barefoot into the cold night for safety. The fear in her voice when she called her father cut him deeply. Magic had faced championships, criticism, and health battles, but nothing prepared him for the panic of knowing his daughter was in danger. When he finally reached her, she was shaken, crying, and trying to be strong. Magic hugged her tightly and said he never wanted her to feel that fear again. That night reminded him that no amount of wealth or success can completely protect the people you love. As Magic grew older, he worked hard to rebuild his relationship with Andre as well. When Andre became an adult, he and Magic slowly repaired the distance left from earlier years. Andre eventually joined Magic Johnson Enterprises, taking a leadership role. This allowed father and son to grow closer, not just as family, but as partners. Magic felt grateful for the second chance. He did not take it for granted. He understood that rebuilding trust takes time, patience, and honesty, lessons he had learned the hard way. Through all of these personal battles, Magic came to understand that his family was his greatest source of strength. Cookie's loyalty held him up during his darkest moments. EJ taught him about love beyond expectations. Elisa reminded him why protection and compassion mattered. Andre taught him forgiveness and the power of second chances. These relationships shaped him far more than fame or money. They gave him emotional grounding when the world outside felt too heavy. They reminded him that success means nothing without people to share life with. Magic often says his family saved him. They helped him find balance when he felt lost. They believed in him even when he doubted himself. They reminded him that being a good father and husband was more important than being a superstar. Through mistakes, apologies, and healing, Magic became a better man. His family battles taught him humility and the value of showing up, not just providing financially. But just as he was finding peace and stability at home, life delivered another kind of heartbreak, one he could not protect himself from, no matter how strong he had become. Because the cruelest heartbreak wasn't about his children, it was about losing the men who shaped the man he became. Heroes don't fear dying, they fear leaving the people they love behind. For Magic Johnson, the deepest pain in his life did not come from the disease he fought or the career he lost. It came from watching the two men who shaped him slowly slip away. These losses changed him in a way that no championship, award, or business success ever could. They reminded him that even the strongest people cannot escape the truth of time. Magic's father, Irvin Johnson Sr., had always been his example of what a man should be. He was steady, hard-working, and gentle. Magic remembered riding beside him on those early morning garbage routes, watching him lift heavy cans with calm strength. Irvin Sr. taught him responsibility, taught him how to work without complaining, and taught him to stay humble. In Magic's eyes, his father was invincible. So when Irvin Sr. became sick many years later, Magic struggled to accept it. The man who had always kept the family together was now fighting a long, exhausting illness that slowly took away his energy and independence. Magic spent as much time with him as possible during those final months. He held his father's hands, now thinner and weaker than he remembered. He listened to his stories, even the ones he had already heard dozens of times. He tried to stay strong in front of him, but inside he felt the weight of knowing he was watching the person he admired most fade away. When Irvin Sr. finally passed away in 2023, Magic felt something inside him break. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was a deep, quiet grief, the kind that makes the world feel unfamiliar for a while. Losing a parent is losing part of your foundation, and Magic carried that pain every day. But this wasn't the first father figure he had lost. Years earlier, Magic went through another heartbreaking goodbye, the passing of Dr. Jerry Buss, the longtime owner of the Lakers. Buss wasn't just Magic's boss. He was the person who saw greatness in him when he was still a 20-year-old rookie full of doubt. Buss treated him like family. He guided him, taught him about business, trusted him with responsibility, and believed in his leadership before Magic believed in himself. Their relationship went far beyond basketball. Buss encouraged him to think about life beyond the court, preparing him for the future in ways Magic didn't understand until much later. As Buss grew sick, Magic visited him often. He sat beside him, held his hand, and talked to him the way a son talks to a father. They shared quiet moments, laughter, memories, and words that carried years of meaning. Magic tried to be strong, but watching Buss weaken was painful. When Jerry Buss died, Magic said it felt like losing a second father. The man who helped shape his adulthood was gone, and the loss left a space in his life that no one else could fill. These losses forced Magic to face mortality from a new angle. He had lived for decades with HIV, always aware that life could change at any moment. But watching the two most important men in his life die made that awareness heavier. It reminded him that no matter how successful he became, no matter how carefully he managed his health, time was something no one could fully control. It made him more reflective, more grateful, and more aware of the importance of every morning he woke up. His own daily fight with HIV continued quietly behind the scenes. For more than 3 decades, Magic has lived with a routine built on discipline and consistency. Every day starts with medication pills taken at the same time with almost military precision. Missing a dose could weaken his body, so he stays committed, no matter where he is or how busy his schedule becomes. Some mornings are harder than others. His joints ache, his lower back hurts, his legs feel heavy. The physical pain is a reminder that HIV treatment is not simple. It requires strength every single day. Sleep is another challenge. Years of medication, stress, and physical wear from basketball have left him with chronic discomfort. Some nights he sleeps lightly. Other nights he wakes up repeatedly, unable to fully rest. Insomnia became part of his life long ago. There are nights when he walks around the house quietly, trying not to wake Cookie, stretching his back or breathing slowly until the pain calms. People see his smile in public, but they don't see the nights when he struggles alone in the dark. Despite all of this, Magic remains spiritually grounded. His faith has grown stronger with age. He prays often, reflects on his blessings, and thinks about how far he has come. He believes his survival is not accidental, it is a responsibility. He often says that he lives not only for himself, but for the people who need hope. For the young man newly diagnosed with HIV, for the parents fighting chronic health problems, for the fans who see him as proof that life can continue after terrifying news. This belief keeps him moving forward even on difficult days. Magic also lives for his community and his family. He wants to be present for Cookie, for Andre, for EJ, and for Elisa. He wants to see his children grow, succeed, and build families of their own. He wants to give back to neighborhoods he once walked through as a child. He wants his life to mean something beyond accomplishments. Every time he takes his medication or exercises, despite the pain, he thinks about the people who are counting on him to stay strong. Through all of these challenges, Magic learned one of the most important lessons of his life. Strength is not measured on good days. Strength is measured on bad days, the days when the body feels weak, the mind feels tired, and the heart feels heavy. Those are the days when survival becomes a victory. Magic's journey has shown him that success is not just about rising high, but about rising again and again after each setback. Losing his father and Jerry Buss hurt him deeply, but these losses also reminded him of what mattered most. They taught him to appreciate time, to stay disciplined with his health, and to hold his loved ones close. They made him more aware of his purpose and more determined to live with intention. But survival alone wasn't enough. He still had one final chapter to write. What does a man become after he survives everything? Today, Magic Johnson lives a life very different from the one he was born into. His present-day wealth includes multiple homes, from a peaceful Beverly Hills estate to a relaxing Palm Springs retreat and a Dana Point villa overlooking the ocean. These homes are not just displays of success. For Magic, they are reminders of the long road he traveled, from a small, crowded house in Lansing to places where he can breathe, rest, and feel safe. The luxury surrounding him is not about ego. It represents survival, stability, and the chance to enjoy moments he once feared he would never live long enough to see. Magic thinks often about the future of his family. He focuses on generational wealth, making sure Cookie and his children will always have security. He wants them to build their own dreams without the financial struggles he experienced. This planning is part of his love for them, a way to protect them long after he is gone. At the same time, he remains dedicated to philanthropy, supporting programs for HIV awareness, education, and underserved communities. He gives quietly and consistently because he remembers what it felt like to grow up with very little. Helping others is not a duty to him. It is part of who he is. Today, Magic's purpose goes far beyond the fame he gained from basketball. He speaks to people living with chronic illness, encourages young entrepreneurs, and shows families from struggling neighborhoods that hope is real. His story teaches that pain can shape strength, loss can deepen love, and survival can become a mission. Magic Johnson's life is a reminder that no matter how dark the path becomes, rising again is always possible, and sometimes the rise is greater than the fall ever was.